Welcome into another episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I am Will Thomas. We have got your Monday, January 12th transfer portal update. If you have been enjoying my portal content or you're looking for more of it, subscribe to me here and follow me on Twitter. I am on top of it to the best of my ability, trying to make as much sense of this craziness as I possibly can. And today's updates, they reflect that pretty well because I put out two shorts today on my YouTube and TikTok. The first one was after we found out that LSU got the commitment from Sam Leavitt, the Arizona State quarterback. I put that short out because LSU finally got their guy. I kind of thought that they might have been out of it for Leavitt. I thought it was either Miami or maybe even Tennessee for Sam Leavitt. But then the report came out today that he committed to LSU. Lane Kiffin got his guy. It's over. Then my second short came out right after we heard that Tennessee, they were never told that Leavitt committed to LSU. They're still making an offer. As far as they're concerned, this recruitment is still wide open. And Tennessee is making an offer for Leavitt and his camp to go over. So as I'm recording this right now, as it stands, Sam Leavitt is committed to LSU, but Tennessee is right there. And it's really just a two-horse race between those two schools. I'd imagine the numbers are going to be similar enough to where money won't be the deciding factor in his decision. It'll be, probably, who can win now, edge probably to LSU. Offensive scheme, edge probably to Tennessee, even though, Charlie Weiss obviously is incredible, so is Lane. Just what Heupel's offenses have been able to do, it makes every quarterback succeed really, really well. So it'll be really interesting to see. And whichever school doesn't get Leavitt, I'd imagine they'd be involved in these reported offers to Ty Simpson to come out of the draft and come back to college. I thought that Simpson to Tennessee was likely-ish to happen off the rip, because I did think Ty was going to at least not be at Bama next year with Austin Mack, Keelan Russell there. And I was a little surprised to see him declare for the draft. I wasn't shocked that schools were offering him money. And ironically, more money than he would make next year in the NFL. So he could have another year to come back, have the best year of his career. I think that Ty will come back to college and probably end up at one of these two schools, between LSU and the Vols. Maybe even Miami, based on how the dominoes fall down. But some other quarterbacks, Dylan Raiola, ever since he hit the portal, the only school that was tied to him was Oregon. But the caveat of that was, what is Dante Moore going to do? Is he going to go to the draft? Is he going to come back to school? Then it came out yesterday that regardless of what Dante Moore was doing, Raiola would still look at Oregon as a big-time option to go and even sit there for a year. Ironically, that would then be him following the Dante Moore path. He'd be somewhere else, transfer into Oregon, wait a year, and then take over. And I think and he's now committed to Oregon. Raiola has. It was official this morning. I think it's a great move for Raiola if Dante Moore does come back to wait a year. Have this year to develop, and I don't know the timeline of his leg injury. I am sure that he'd be ready by week 1, but why rush it? Why not take this extra time to get yourself fully ready to 100% speed? Game speed is obviously different, but getting yourself going in practice, having a year to sit back behind a guy in Dante Moore who's going to be a pro, and you can just keep developing and be Oregon's guy in 2027. I do think that Raiola at Oregon is a great fit regardless. I think it's an awesome fit if he does have one more year behind Dante Moore to sit, learn, and get ready. DJ Lagway, he committed to Baylor within the last week. And then this past weekend, he was taking a visit to Ole Miss at the same time as Deuce Knight. And then once Deuce Knight signed with Ole Miss, in my mind, that said Lagway's not going there. Because either way, it wouldn't make sense. I don't think that Lagway would go there to be behind Deuce Knight, who's younger than him. Right? So the only way he'd ever see the field would be if Deuce left or got injured. And then Deuce wouldn't sign on to be behind a guy like Lagway because Deuce Knight knows how good he is. So it seems like the reports are now indicating that Lagway is likely sticking with Baylor, which I think is the best fit. It's back in his home state. It's where his dad went. It's the wide open Big 12 where he can go sling the ball around, look really good against some weaker defenses. So I do believe that DJ Lagway will end up sticking with Baylor per the reports, and that's a great fit for him. Keon Keeley, the former 5-star edge rusher who is at Alabama, he committed to Notre Dame this morning. Notre Dame was one of the finalists in his recruitment out of high school, and a defensive guy going to play for Marcus Freeman, it's impossible to not like that. I think that if someone can recognize Keeley's potential and really turn him into the monster that we all thought he was going to be coming out of high school, I think Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman is a really, really good place to start. So get ready to hear Keon Keeley's name a lot next year during Notre Dame games. Winston Watkins, the Ole Miss receiver who had he was good this year. I guess you could maybe call it a breakout because of how young he is. But Winston Watkins from Ole Miss, he is transferring to LSU. This really is like one of the only guys that we've seen at this point follow Lane Kiffin to Baton Rouge. It's obviously not one of the bigger names that LSU fans thought would be coming with Lane when they hired him, but Watkins is a good player. And LSU is taking on a ton of receivers, so we'll see how much play Watkins actually gets in his first year. But for LSU also, they retained Caden Durham today, who was their sophomore running back. He had a great freshman year, a bit of a down sophomore year, really because that whole team did, right? The whole offense was bad. But keeping Caden Durham for Lane Kiffin, I think, is big, right? It gives you a constant in the backfield, a guy you can trust because you saw what he could do as a freshman. He's a good back. So I think that keeping Caden Durham in Baton Rouge is a big get, and adding Winston Watkins to what is a very talented but now kind of crowded receiver room is a good add. Speaking of receivers, Shazz Preston from Tulane, an All-American conference guy, he is going to Indiana. He's an absolute dog. He has 1 year of eligibility left. This is a guy who started his career at Bama, then he was at Tulane, and now he's going to play for Kurt Cignetti with Josh Hoover, with Nick Marsh. Nick Marsh and Shazz Preston as a receiver duo is scary. Indiana is just stacking elite talent. They're playing as good as they are now with, I think it's 7 or 8 4-stars, and the rest are 3-2 and no stars. Now they're just stacking elite ball players. Now they're having elite athletes compared with their level of elite execution. Indiana is just going to get better, guys. And Shazz Preston's a great add, and Indiana's doing some really, really good things in the portal. They also grabbed A.J. Harris today, who was at Penn State as a DB. He started his career at Georgia. Just another blue-chip player that's Cignetti is adding to the team. So, yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. Indiana is absolutely dominant, and they're doing really good work in the portal. It's hard to blame anybody for wanting to go play for Cignetti and the Hoosiers. Water break. All right, water break's over. Dante Dowdell, the Kentucky running back. I'm a big fan of how he plays. I like how he runs a lot. He committed to Georgia today. I think he's a really good piece for Kirby. I think he fits what they want to do really well, which really is, emphasize the running backs to establish their whole offense. And Nate Frazier announced that he's coming back today. So you're adding Dowdell to Nate Frazier. You still have Chauncey Bowens back there. This Georgia backfield is very deep and very talented. You're going to have Gunnar Stockton come back, and you're losing receivers, right? Like, you're losing Zachariah Branch. You're losing some other key members of that room. But the backfield is going to be stable. The backfield is going to be strong. And that is really the building block of Kirby Smart's Georgia offense. So getting Dowdell is big time because of just the player that he is, but also how much sense it makes in Georgia's scheme. Ja'Cory Thomas, a big-bodied 6'3" receiver from Old Dominion. He is going to Vanderbilt. So Clark Lee is bringing in some pass catchers for Jared Curtis next season. They lost Trey Richardson to the portal. They lost Eli Stowers to the draft. So they have Junior Sherrill back. Now you're adding Ja'Cory Thomas, another, who'll really be the bigger guy. Junior Sherrill had been sort of their deep threat, but he doesn't really have the prototypical size for a deep threat. Now you have Ja'Cory Thomas, who is that big-bodied outside receiver, so you can free Junior Sherrill up to do some other things that maybe physically he'll be more naturally good at, naturally more effective at. So adding Ja'Cory Thomas does make Vandy's offense much more prolific, I do think, in the passing game, but we'll see how all the new pieces do mesh together. Another receiver here, Malcolm Simmons, a transfer from Auburn. He was, part of that rotation behind Cam Coleman and Eric Singleton for the Tigers, but he's really, really good, and he's going to Texas Tech. He was a top 10 receiver in the portal, and if you're going Texas Tech at this point, you're a good ball player. Right? I mean, they have all this money to spend, obviously, but they're not spending it poorly. Malcolm Simmons is a really good athlete. You saw flashes of it while he was with Auburn. He hasn't had a bunch of great quarterback play there, so it's really hard to judge him based off his production. Right, but if you just watch his tape, it's hard not to like how he runs his routes, how he attacks the ball at the catch point. Malcolm Simmons is a great add for Texas Tech. Another receiver here, Noah Rogers, who started his career at Ohio State as a 5-star recruit. Then he was at NC State. Now he's going to Alabama. This is part of the domino effect of Isaiah Horton leaving the Tide. Now they're bringing in Noah Rogers. So being a former 5-star, this guy's an athlete. He's got all the potential in the world. Can Bama help him to recognize it? Because he's been a good enough ball player. He hasn't quite lived up to the 5-star potential that we thought he had coming out of high school. So can Bama unlock that in Noah Rogers with likely awesome at quarterback? I think there's a world. I think we might get very used to Noah Rogers' name next year in the SEC. And the last guy I have here was another Bama get. It was Ty Haywood, one of the top offensive linemen in the portal. He's leaving Michigan. He left when Jerome Moore got fired. He did get fired. Sorry, I don't know why I put that in quotes. But with the coaching change, Ty Haywood left Michigan. Now he's going to be at Alabama. He's going to play for Kellen DeBoer. This is a big-time move. Obviously, getting the best offensive lineman in the country is incredibly important. Bama's offensive line, it wasn't bad. But, you saw how they couldn't run the ball. Right? There were a lot of things to be desired with that Bama offensive line. And so bringing a guy like Ty Haywood is going to help you fix some of those problems, help you plug some of those holes that really made Bama's offense so hot and cold this past season. And that'll do it for the Monday afternoon update. Let me make sure I didn't just miss news. 1 second. It's my face. You see my face. Okay. Nothing new on Sam Leavitt yet. I'll get that out whenever it does. But thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Tailgate Talk SEC. I have been Will Thomas. If you enjoyed the video, if you enjoyed the content and want some more of it, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and I will see you guys next time.